Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the incredible advantages and the, frankly, significant hidden disadvantages of artificial intelligence. We're going to be looking at everything from your everyday workflow all the way up to some truly existential global stakes. You know, the narrative around AI is usually pretty polarized. It's either pitched as this utopian miracle or a dystopian nightmare. But the reality? Well, as the data shows, it's deeply dualistic.
All right, let's dive right in by confronting the biggest promise of AI, that it's going to instantly make our businesses faster and way more efficient. I mean, it's the main reason organizations are pouring absolutely billions of dollars into this tech. But when we look at the actual ground truth of how these tools are performing in the modern office, the advantages don't always perfectly map to the outcomes. So we really have to ask the question, is AI actually making us more productive?
Sure, generative AI can spit out results in seconds, totally fulfilling that expectation of compressed timelines. But as the Seramount report highlights, a massive paradox is emerging. Faster output doesn't automatically mean better outcomes. Actually, when speed scales up but human readiness doesn't, error rates just rise. The burden of reviewing all that output grows, and projects, well, they ultimately fail. Get this, an astonishing 42% of companies have already abandoned at least one AI initiative simply because the reality just didn't match the expectation.
And here is the ultimate irony of the AI revolution. Despite all those promised time savings, 77% of employees report that AI tools have actually increased their workload. Just think about that for a second. You introduce a tool literally designed to save time, and it generates more work. Why? Because while AI collapses the cost of production, it totally doesn't collapse the cost of judgment. We humans still have to read, verify, and edit all that AI output to make sure we aren't pushing out inaccurate or misleading results.
Section 1. Transforming businesses and workplaces.
Now, if you're running a small or medium-sized enterprise, the advantages are super tangible right now. When deployed correctly, AI is actively automating those repetitive tasks. We're talking about marketing and sales productivity increasing by over 20% and cost reductions getting close to 30%. By optimizing up to 50% of routine work, stuff like customer service inquiries or real-time inventory management, smaller businesses are suddenly able to compete on a scale that was pretty much impossible before.
But this brings us to a classic yes, but situation in the modern workplace. Yes, AI boosts operational efficiency and fosters innovation. Absolutely. But the friction is real. The threat of job displacement is creating genuine anxiety among workforces. Plus, there are profound cybersecurity risks because these models are just so data hungry. And we can't forget that AI systems can replicate or even worsen biases hidden in their training data. This leads to unfair outcomes in critical areas like hiring, all while completely lacking basic human empathy. Because of those severe disadvantages, we're seeing a really specific pattern in how AI is actually being used day to day. S&P Global data shows us that AI adoption is largely augmentative rather than autonomous. The heavy focus right now is just on assisting humans. We're looking at summarization at 71%, translation at 62%, and data management at 61%. Only a tiny fraction of projects are targeting a fully autonomous end state, which really proves that human oversight remains our most crucial safeguard.
Section 2. Hidden Costs and Global Risks.
Okay, we absolutely have to talk about the quality of the information AI produces. Yes, it can communicate fluently, but generative models often hallucinate completely inaccurate outputs. And even worse, they can be used to generate deepfakes, which are highly realistic but totally synthetic audio or video clips. When people rely on this blindly, or when it's used maliciously, it creates massive reputational, regulatory, and security risks. And shockingly, despite this growing threat, GlobeScan's research shows only 18% of global corporate affairs practitioners actually feel prepared to manage an AI-driven deepfake or misinformation incident. I mean, that is a massive readiness gap. As AI accelerates the speed and reach of false content, the vast majority of organizations are just sitting there vulnerable without any tested response mechanisms in place.
But beyond the digital risks, there's a physical reality to AI that often gets completely ignored. The United Nations University reminds us that AI's rapid growth demands a massive physical toll on our environment. The sheer computing power needed to train and run these models results in huge energy consumption, a growing carbon footprint, and shockingly high water usage just to cool down the data centers. The cloud isn't literally up in the sky, right? It takes up immense amounts of land and resources right here on Earth.
Section 3. The AGI Horizon.
So, looking at this recent UN report,
Billions of dollars are currently fueling literally the largest research and development effort in human history. Nations and corporations are in a dead sprint to achieve something called AGI. The private sector is pushing for these capabilities at breakneck speed, and they're often prioritizing getting there first over getting there safely.
So what actually is AGI? Artificial general intelligence refers to systems that equal or surpass human intelligence in diverse cognitive tasks. Unlike the tools we use today that need a human prompt to do anything, AGI will be able to learn, edit its own code, and autonomously generate and execute complex plans completely without human oversight. It's a fundamental paradigm shift.
The UN impartially lays out the ultimate stakes of this transition, and it's an unprecedented dilemma. On one hand, AGI holds the extraordinary promise to cure cancer, accelerate public health, and maybe even solve climate change. But conversely, it poses catastrophic disadvantages. We're talking about the potential for autonomous weapons of mass destruction, critical infrastructure failures, and uncontrollable systems driven by self-preservation. It's a technology that could guarantee a magnificent future or cause irreversible global harm.
Section 4. Governing the AI Transition. To prevent a reckless technological arms race, the UN has proposed a very specific, four-step action plan. First, establish a global AGI observatory to give us early warnings on security. Second, create an international certification system to ensure best practices. Third, develop a framework convention to set hard red lines and manage risks equitably. And fourth, conduct a feasibility study for a dedicated UN AGI agency, kind of similar to how we monitor nuclear energy globally. It's a major call for proactive, coordinated global governance.
Which brings us to the ultimate question you should take away from this explainer today. We've seen that from your everyday workplace all the way to the global stage, the constraint is no longer the technology itself. The true bottleneck is our human capacity for judgment, accountability, and governance. With the immense advantages and, frankly, terrifying disadvantages laid out before us, we're left to wonder, can our human readiness catch up before we lose control? Are we truly ready for what comes next?